live?
I think we might be. Maybe not on YouTube yet. That's okay. Now we are on YouTube.
We are
At
live on
least very,
YouTube?
very momentarily. There we go. Should be everywhere, I think. And we're even early this time around, which is a rarity.
Impossible. This is impossible. The time must be wrong. We cannot be early.
Yeah, I think I see us on YouTube. I see us, let's see, on Twitch. I think we're up. Looks good. Got to mute myself. I sound funny. And don't see us on Steam. Oh, I do. Cool. Hello, everybody. I'm Arthur here with Joshua. We call these our Fireside Chats. We've been doing, I don't know, how many have we done now?
2 or 3, I don't know anymore.
Yeah, a couple. I thought more than that even. Really, we play the game. If you guys have questions, we're happy to answer them. After a patch, this is a lot easier than putting together an update video. So we kind of go through some of the new features, show you guys anything you want to see, and really just talk anything SimAirport or politics. We'll talk religion if you want, pretty much anything. So thank you very much for joining us. If you do have questions, feel free to shout them out. Hello, everybody. And yeah, we're live on YouTube, Twitch, and on Steam. We're watching all of them. Just jump in the chat if you got anything to say or just want to say hi. You got an airport going here, I see.
Yep. It's a pretty much huge airport for what amount of flights we currently get. If I get up flight management, you can see the main terminal isn't even completely filled. But its main purpose is to have a lot of open space to test out some negotiations.
Right. Yeah. The new this patch just went out yesterday. We had a hot fix today too. Oops. We added airline deals and negotiations, so you can make all kinds of custom deals with the airlines and negotiate with them. You got to assign sales reps and really like not get tight with the airline to try to get a good deal out of them. Basically, you could even negotiate like flat rate deals. You can lease out offices to them to try to get on their good side. My goal with it was I wanted to like have a really legit feeling negotiation mechanic. I love negotiating like anything and everything. I mean, to a fault, and that's what I wanted to be able to get out of it. I think it's pretty solid. Michael did a really good job on this. The other thing that I saw, this was mentioned in the forum. Hey there, Hubbit. Nice of you to join us. Glad to have you. On the forum a couple days ago, somebody, I've seen this back and forth on it, even some of the more experienced players saying you can't build stuff outside of security. And I mean, that just should not be the case. I know in the past it has been, but that's something else I want to see. I want to see you try to tackle, Joshua.
Can do. Just need to take a look at where. I'm usually the main terminal is a little bit cramped. Got some offices and the new visitor reception in here.
Worst case, hire more construction workers, right?
I've got 100.
100?
Can definitely agree with that.
Not messing around today, huh? Gonna
But
put those algorithms to the test.
yeah, luckily I left a lot of space even in the main terminal on the ground floor, which we can just use now. Do you want anything specific? Maybe a coffee?
I'd be happy even with a couple of kiosks to see how bad we're gonna be off. Good day to you, Andy, over on Twitch. Got early Twitch viewers. That's good to see. Hopefully YouTube survives the load. I know last stream, those of you that were with us, YouTube went down with so many people watching SimAirport that it just folded under all the heavy load. Not obviously, I'm not serious, but YouTube did go down last time we streamed. Hey there, Mod Air, Sandra. Thank you guys for joining us. Hope you guys are having a very good afternoon today. What are you're gonna go with oh, it looks like you're starting to build, you're gonna build a cafe?
No, I definitely need a kitchen. Even
Oh,
for
you
the
don't even have a
kiosks.
kitchen at all.
Yeah, but that's a quick point.
Ah. Orange 9098. The update is live. If I recall correctly, yeah, that's right. You said Mac. Yeah, you're playing on the Mac App Store. So we sent in the update yesterday because we had a hot fix this morning. Had to send another one in this morning, which means we probably got reset in the queue. Usually it's about 24 hours. So I would expect that by like midday tomorrow, the Mac App Store version should be updated. If you're really itching, shoot me an email and we'll see if we can't figure something out for you. Arthur at SimAirport.com. Hubbit, a new road with the lighter concrete. Are you talking about road specifically, or are you talking about, are you wanting the concrete taxiways or specifically the roads? Humid afternoon, Sandra. Here I'm in Vegas. Here it's like no humidity. It's probably 100 and it's probably almost 100 right now. Let's see what it is. It's 96 here with 7% humidity. It's as dry as it gets and hot.
You've got 96 Imperial.
96 Fahrenheit. So
I've got 26 degrees Celsius over here. So
30,
actually pretty...
35 and a half Celsius?
Yeah, that's hot.
Yeah, it's pretty warm. You've been complaining about heat. What is it there?
Currently it's pretty cold. This week is around 25, 20 to 25 even. And currently inside 26. But last weekend it spiked all the way to 40 degrees. And the sun was way hotter. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But anything over 35 degrees Celsius, that's already way too hot for Germans.
Yeah. Mod Air, we'll show it. Yeah, I when we put that in, like, I was annoyed because there's no real good way to show that you can build them there. Like, I guess we could try to fade out the edges or something. But I know not many people know that you can do it. And it allows you to get a much more realistic airport for sure. So yeah, it's very much worth showing. We'll show it. 38 Celsius. Yeah. Oh, is that right? How about 38 Celsius? Where are you at that it's 38 Celsius? I mean, that's the same as it is here, basically 100.
By the way, testing stuff.
Yeah.
I already found the first thing. Someone noted, I don't know, sorry, I don't know who it was, but someone told us the passengers sometimes don't really like to use crosswalks and just use the road.
Yeah, I saw that report. I want to see what the overall layout is. I played with it a good bit when I fixed it a week or two ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, maybe. And I was getting, yeah, huh.
They
My
completely
guess
avoid
is
it for me.
they're avoiding that zone. Well, okay. Yeah, I mean that's definitely a bug. I thought that they were using them too much when I implemented it.
But they should only use a crosswalk if it's possible to.
Yeah, it's a problem. That seems so easy. The problem is that yeah, that may be why, because it's dividing it again. The problem is if you want to do something like that, force them to only use it, then you end up with them being willing to explore the entire map in their Pathfinder. And so if you basically multiply the Pathfinder time times like 10, and when you need to run, 200 paths a second, you can't make them all 10 times slower. Hey, how's it going? Joseph Ham? Yeah, 95. Yeah, same thing here. It's definitely hot. Definitely a hot one today. And it's going to get hotter. We were lucky here in Vegas this year. It stayed cool until like basically first week of June. We were still wearing jackets. Gotcha. Hubbit, do you think should we just change the color of all the roads then to be that lighter color? Yeah, cross. Okay. This, pathfinding is such a. I saw a post on Reddit the other day. Somebody was asking why. Oh, you're at the airport? That is a. You can't complain too much if you're able to be at the airport watching. So I saw a post on Reddit the other day. Somebody was asking why is it so hard to do multiple floors in games like this? It seems like it should be easy. Like the pathfinding is just a simple adjustment. You just you're adding more nodes basically, but the problem is you're adding 5 times as many nodes if you have 5 floors. And then when you want to do stuff like make them only walk on crosswalks, your pathfinder has to explore. You get into situations where it may have to explore every single node just to make sure there wasn't a better path. There's no real great way to know that in advance that there wasn't already a better path without caching that kind of stuff, and you get into all kinds of exponential algorithms. But I know that it's not working great. I mean, we see right here that the crosswalk isn't being used like it should be. We'll take another look at this for sure. I wish it was a lot easier. Why ask why? So what's new? A lot's new. One of the biggest things is the airline deals and negotiations, which is really like, I mean, it would take an hour to explain every bit of it. But the quick and dirty is you can now negotiate with the airlines. You you can do things like lease office space to them. You can give them exclusive gates or lounges, or flight crew lounges, or anything like that. You can negotiate like custom pricing, even just flat daily pricing, that kind of stuff. There's a whole lot just to that system. There's also grants. Really, there's a ton. I would suggest taking a peek at the patch notes. There's really like a lot there. It was kind of a long cycle. That might be one of the most like biggest breadth updates. There really was a ton. Just a handful of like really big headliners, but there's a lot of like little stuff that just works a lot better. A lot of user interface stuff, like the auto foundation that Joshua worked on. It's like a whole lot easier to place stuff underground, or like floor transition objects. Yeah, really, there's a ton. Hubbit said you like the current roads, so really just service roads. Okay. Yeah, my biggest concern with, I don't like making two types of one thing if they're like functionally identical. And I guess they should be able to connect. The service roads debate, I see people ask for service roads, and I'm like, why? You have roads, they're one way, you can do anything you want with them. And I don't know if people just mean they want like restricted roads that only service vehicles can drive on, which is basically just a road in a secure area. For the most part, at least. But okay, yeah. I mean, I know it's on our list to do the same thing for taxiways, to make a second type. We'll see what we can't do. I really want to get these colors looking better. You can see right now he's negotiating. He's in a negotiation with this airline.
Hard, tough talks over here.
What's that?
Really tough to negotiate with them. They're a hard partner.
They're gonna wax you if you better be able to deliver. Hey Douglas, yeah, really, pathfinding is like my favorite problem. I love all the graph problems. I really love them too much. It's a love-hate relationship. You get in there, you see, oh, this is going to work so much better. You get going, you write the code, and then it works better, but it's too slow. Or it works better 90% of the cases, but you got 10% of the cases that are really worse. And next thing you know, it's 2 weeks later, and you're like, gosh, I wish I'd never have to look at this pathfinding stuff ever again. It's definitely a love-hate relationship. Madair asked, are there any plans to create more different aircraft stands, extra small, large, without a boarding bridge? We were actually just talking about this, Joshua and I, yesterday. The thing you'll see sooner than later is remote gates, which are basically just the same as any other gate. They'll have a bus that'll transfer the passengers between the terminal and wherever the gate is positioned, instead of having the requirement to have the door to a terminal. That's what you'll be seeing right away. Really don't have any plans to do other sizes. I know there's a desire to do small gates without the padding. I'm just not sure of how realistic that is for like the game and how much work it'll take. The grid is like that for a reason. The only thing that we did talk about doing a temporary parking spot for a while. Basically, it would act like a gate where it would allow an aircraft to land even if the gate is occupied, and then the aircraft could sit at that temporary parking spot and wait until their gate became unoccupied. I love the concept. It's kind of similar to remote gates, except instead of unloading, they would sit there and have it reserved until they were able to go to their gate. Conceptually, I love it. It's definitely, the logic for it is much harder than it sounds. It's very doable, though. Josh and I were talking about remote gates just yesterday, and I was thinking about the parking spot stuff. So who knows? Maybe we'll try to slip it onto his plate. What do you think about that, Josh?
Surely. Why not?
You like that? Do you like the idea?
Of just having parking spots. Temporary.
Yeah, basically just like holding. They're I don't want to call them holding points, but yeah, really, it's like I don't know if airports do this as much anymore. It used to be very common, though. You'd land and you'd be sent to a fairly remote part of the airport, and you'd wait for 20 minutes until your gate opened up. And maybe I just flew way too many budget carriers. But yeah, I mean, basically, it's a operational thing where instead of forcing them into a fallback gate, you can. Yeah, okay. So I was never on your channel. Yeah, I hate it too. It's terrible, but it makes sense operationally. You gain efficiency, and you don't have to use up a second gate that you can then keep available longer. From like a configuring your fishbowl perspective, which is those of you that read my posts know that's kind of how I approach the game. Is you're configuring your fishbowl. I love the idea because it's that much more that you can more configuration you can do.
Would be extremely useful for when flights come in early, but you want to schedule them closer together so they can already land.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, mod air. I agree. Remote gates are definitely far more important, and it's not like an either or thing. Remote gates would be the main thing that we would be looking to get implemented for sure. Edgy Sprat, how you doing? Yeah, you're very welcome. He says, so happy or she says, I forget. I'm sorry if I got it wrong. So happy the floor hover mouse wheel thingy made it into the game. Thanks, Dev. You're most welcome. That was a quick one. I think you mentioned it last stream, even, if I recall correctly. But yeah, I mean, that's the kind of stuff like we'd love to implement. It was pretty quick. I think I even wrote it. Ooh, I like that idea. I was never on your channel set. Also interesting would be not to assign a fixed gate instead of gate group. Man, I like that a lot. Does that happen in real life, though?
Gate
I guess
group
it does, doesn't it? Does it?
isn't technically 5 gates that are grouped together and assigned to an airline already a gate group? I mean, isn't the assigning the point which groups them together?
Right, but there's no way to schedule like that. So the idea then would be, can you achieve that same thing with fallback gates right now? So the idea would be when you're scheduling, you could just schedule them into that like a virtual gate, and they would be able to
Okay.
pick any from that group. You follow?
Yeah.
It's a very intriguing idea. I don't know. I'm not sure how much that happens in practice. I do know though that I've taken flights where it just says what I'm not sure if it says like G23 through 30, or if it just says G. And then you have to get into the terminal and see. Hey, Casper848. You streamed a few hours ago, super smooth, even with fully developed airport. Good. I'm very glad to hear that. Performance is like probably my number one pet peeve. Especially, well, I mean, it's a little annoying because no matter how good we make the performance, we'll still get saves that are worse. Like, we saw at least a couple of saves this cycle that were like upwards of 50, 70,000 passengers. Which, I mean, it's just ridiculous. Like, so much. I mean, a couple of those were taking, what, like 10 minutes to load, Joshua?
Yeah, I think the worst one was at least over 5 minutes.
Yeah. Which, I mean, in grand scheme, like, isn't massive, but, you know, at some point, like, we got to draw a line. But yeah, I'm really glad to hear you're getting good performance. It is, from everything I've seen and in my personal opinion, playing the game, it's by far the most performant that it's ever been. Like, we're routinely able to play saves with like 2,000 to 4,000 passengers with like nothing lost, where it feels good. It's not chugging. And I haven't fired up like my test machine, but I suspect that on like a really high end Windows machine playing in a build, you probably can get 5,000 or so and have it play pretty darn well. Probably more. I know I saw people saying like 7,000. Oh, gotcha. I didn't. Gotcha. Hi, Andy. I was curious. Yeah, it's funny to see everybody else's names. I see David S. Chick. Very nice to see you. Thank you for dropping by. Yeah, I admit I lock onto YouTube a little bit too much. Edgy Spread. It's a he. Okay, good. Yeah, it was on the last stream we brought that up. Good. I do remember. I remember people. Try. See if I'm missing anything on Steam. Hi, Chick. I see you said hello on Steam as well. I don't know if it's just not sure exactly why, but I know Steam is a little bit more hit or miss with the stream. The quality is better too. But the chat seems iffy sometimes. So I gotta ask, do you always play with the legacy sprites, Joshua?
I'm usually the one that doesn't really care, but
Yeah.
I enabled them now again, just to have a switcher. Like last time, I think we played mainly with the new ones.
Yeah. I want to put a random setting in. Plays awesome on my machine with 5,000 to 7,000. That's great. That's really good to hear. Josh and I were talking about it just before we got on the stream, and he was saying that he's like, it's good enough, and I still want more. I'm not sure I'll ever like be satisfied. I want more. So Casper asked, how do you get the underground roads and where do they lead? Where do they lead to?
So, how to get underground roads? You select road. Go somewhere where you've got open space. You cannot tunnel underneath existing structure, but you just go down a level and then you can build underground. Will automatically build foundation around. And to get down or up, you go to objects, structures, which has road ramp down and road ramp up. And I just built a small loop to get drop-offs and pickups above each other. So buses come in, go off to this little side road, drop off stuff, go underground, completely loop around to pickups, and back up again. and out of the airport.
Yeah, and you could put basically any of the zones that require being next to a road can go underground. Casper above, sorry, I missed a few. Many of you guys know me by now, but I get on a train of thought, and I'm not ignoring you, I promise. I'm just sometimes I'm a little too into it. It's not the worst thing, but yeah, if I missed your question, I'm sorry. I'm not ignoring you though, I promise. Can either ask again or just say, hey, stupid, look up. So let's see. Why asked above, and Hubbard mentions he's not getting any EAM flights on old saves still. You could get EAM flights now. This is something everybody had been asking for a long time. This is really what I wanted to do with it. I wanted it to be part of a bigger mechanic so that it's not just like us adding in. I mean, obviously we could have just allowed them to give you some of those right away. The problem is when we do stuff like that and then we take it away later, it upsets a lot of people. And this was my grand plan the whole time, is I wanted it to be part of either or negotiation or grants. And that's basically pretty much exactly what we achieved with this. Not sure why it's not working on the old save, though. We will have to take a look at that. It's supposed. I should get on the ball and log that. And I will do that. So 1 second. And actually, if you could send like the smallest old save you have where you expect them to be offered and they're not, that would be very helpful. Mod Air asked, I don't see the multiple drop-off pickup zones on the roadmap anymore. So it's still planned. So there is still there's a bus stop thing. That's basically what is required to do it. Pretty much. We could just have 2 and then spawn more buses. It'd be kind of a cheap way out. I kind of am leaning that direction even. That's something we could have in like today. What do you think about that, Joshua?
Depends.
On?
If you want to do it like the LRT stations, so you just can have them behind each other, that's gonna be fine. But having them on different branches of your road, that's gonna be interesting.
Well, what we would do is we would spawn multiple buses, 1 bus for each.
So like if I want to build a third terminal that again has a road access, I could build a tunnel all the way underneath the terminal, head around and build another drop off and pick up each over there. And the first bus goes down to terminal A, and the second bus goes all the way around and to terminal C, in which case it is.
Yeah, basically the number of pickup and drop off zones would be a multiplier on.
I mean, that would work.
Yeah, the only real, like, that's something we could pretty much get done in a day. The only new code that would have to be written for that is we have to pre-decide which is the best drop-off for them and use a heuristic to figure out at what point is under capacity warrant that they spawn at the wrong pickup zone. You know what I mean? So like if terminal B has 20,000 passengers that need spawned, at what point do we just go ahead and let them spawn at A where there is available capacity, but it's a long walk or maybe not even reachable?
Yeah.
These are the things we think about. I mean, it seems like so simple, right? We just add a second drop off and pickup zone, and like, yeah, we could make that. We can allow you to place it like right now. It would take 5 minutes. Problem is making it work and making sure the passengers know which spawn point they should try to get to, and we need to pre-calculate that since the passengers aren't alive yet to decide. We want to share that data. We don't want the passenger trying to figure it out. And then what do you do when, like, should there be any point when the passenger tries to spawn at quote unquote the wrong spawn point because there's not enough capacity at the correct one? I mean, that's a tough, like, there's partially it's a UX problem. Like, how do we explain to you that the reason you've got passengers missing flights is because you don't have enough capacity at a single drop-off zone, or you don't have enough capacity there, and so the problem is that some of the passengers are ending up spawning at the wrong drop-off zone because they can't get on a bus that does have enough that goes to their spawn. Yeah, I'm scrolled up. If you have ideas on how to get around that, I would love to hear them. Douglas Kroll on YouTube asks, best place for new feature suggestions. So we made that new forum, I think just this last month. Basically our goal was allow like longer term discussions and keep stuff from getting scrolled off the front page. And admittedly, there's also a decent bit of, we don't want Edge forum to be cluttered with idea suggestions. I mean, the reality is, you guys know we're reading like the Edge forum like constantly, and so, and it's not like we're mad about it or anything. We love seeing the stuff, but we want to be able to see all the bugs when we look in. We want to know if we don't see any bugs on that first page, second page, then we feel pretty good about the builds. So, yeah, we wanted to basically get them to the spot all on their own. That is the best place to post brand new ideas and suggestions. If it's elaborating on an existing one, then I'd rather if you put them on the Trello board itself and on that topic, because we look at that when we implement stuff to see, we look for ideas, ways to get around issues, shortcut ideas, that kind of stuff. Modding progress, Hubbard asks. So last time we left off with modding, Joshua was working on it. It's fairly close. He and I were just talking about it before the stream. It's something we've got probably like a week to a week and a half of work left for 2 people to get it to like a minimal level of ready. We were kind of discussing whether we're going to try to stuff in some more content first or knock out the mod stuff. We're not totally sure what the answer is, but the reality is they'll probably both be in this cycle. That's subject to change, of course. Everything's always subject to change, but that's our tentative plan right now. We're doing some strategizing the last day or so, also kind of catching our breath and taking a high altitude view of things and seeing what else we want to try to get in. And as always, there, like yesterday, I told Joshua, man, I really want to get a random event, and so, a little grain of salt on. I don't want to commit to too much because I'm gonna commit to too much no matter what. So that's kind of the tentative plan, though. Is this cycle will be mods, and then about four or five medium-sized things like the remote gates. Let me pull up the Trello board. The remote gates. I want to get at least one random event in. I want to really try. And then we had there's a couple of fairly easy ones, like implement concrete. Actually, no, the greater than 2-lane spawn, the user preference for tooltip delay. The tooltips are starting to drive me nuts. Yeah. Hangar rework. No, it's basically still at the conceptual stage. Yeah. Douglas Kroll, you guys need to have some paid DLC. Can't keep giving us all these new things for free. Yeah, I'll admit, my wife kind of sat me down, and she said, "You gotta, you need to find a way to be building this stuff you want to build and like, but not just doing it all for you." Our plan, we probably are going to do some kind of DLC. We may even do just more like a name the game or like a supporters pack. We're not gonna. I've told you guys, we're not gonna like put major core features behind a wall. But I do want to at least give you guys that are like into this and appreciate it some avenue to like allow us to continue working on it longer. And yeah, I appreciate that though very much. Phil T, people mover system between the terminals. I'd really love to do that. It's a pretty damn difficult pathfinding problem. Especially when you get capacity into the mix too. I mean, it gets, if you want to simulate it like pretty well, and you guys know I like things to work like very well. Yeah, it becomes quite a challenge. I would love to see it though. Realistically, I don't think it's something that we're going to be seeing. I would love to also see light rails or subways, something like that, where you can draw the tracks yourself, even if they have to be straight line, so that you can get multiple tracks. But that would be the same thing as what it is now, basically just allowing more capacity and custom placement. It would be a mass transit thing, not an intra-terminal, most likely. Yeah, even bus connection between terminal, it's tough because, so the pathfinding stuff, the problem is basically you need to be able to very, very quickly determine what the best path is between two places. And typically pathfinding, your generic game, like your real-time game, real-time strategy game, that's really easy, right? You have your map, you know what's walkable, what's not. What you end up with when you're talking about like buses between routes, that kind of stuff, you end up with the answer changing, the best path not being the same every time. And so you can't cache the path, something that we don't generally do. we cache some helpers to help us get to the paths, but basically like right now, moving walkways and escalators, because they're involved and that they have a capacity, you already have a varying path. Each time we run the path, even though the start and the target might not change, the path that we return, the correct best path, it may be different every single time. And when you get into those situations, shit gets hard real quick. As you guys have seen, like, you guys know that it's been an on and off problem. I think it's working quite well right now, but it's tough to load balance between two things, because what's essentially happening is we're telling the Pathfinder this path is, at this moment in time, is better than what really looks like it should be the better path. And that seems easy until you get, 6 pathfinding threads running, and you're trying to, when these things are running their paths within, 0.25 milliseconds of each other, they've got to be, you can't mess up. You guys have seen where, I think when we first put in walkways and escalators, everybody would get off the aircraft at the gate, all the arrivals, and they would all rush. They would rush a single escalator. And like, in hindsight, the reason is obvious, but the fix for that is not, it wasn't the simplest. It's definitely not simple to do it in a performant way. Cian Gibbons said you wouldn't buy much of Steam sale. Oh, well, thank you very much. We really were passionate about this game, like, to a fault, maybe. I love this stuff, though. Like, I grew up playing these types of games. I would go to the store, and literally read the back of the boxes for all these. There were a lot of Tycoon games out there. When I was a kid, most of them were terrible, though. But I've just always loved these kinds of games. Yeah, and this is a lot more fun than building web apps. We'll hopefully be doing this long as we got support from guys like you. So yeah, pick it up if it looks like something you'd enjoy. The price will never be better. Well, I don't want to say that for damn sure, but it's a very good value right now, and we are going to raise the price of release. So if it looks like something you're interested in, yeah, it's a great time to pick it up. Let's see, I'm sure I've missed. David SS, how's the family doing? Yeah, so I have 2 kids, 2 daughters. It has been the week from hell the past week and a half, 2 weeks. I got sick. My 2 kids got sick. One of them we had to take to the emergency room. Then my wife got sick the next day. And yeah, it's been really, we probably would have had, I was basically kind of MIA there for about a week and a half, 2 weeks, and it slowed these guys down. We should have had this update out a little earlier, but what are you going to do? It's definitely been an interesting week. Everybody's healthy right now, though, which is great. I'm going to take Thursday off for the 4th of July here and spend it with the family. But no, I appreciate you asking.
By the way, because it was asked, we are currently playing on the default branch. If you look at the bottom UI panel, you can see build July 2nd, which is our hotfix build of today.
Yep.
And if it be Edge or experimental, it will state down there Edge or experimental and then the build date.
Yeah, that's correct. I forgot to update the posts too on Edge and experimental forums. I'll get those updated today after the stream. But Yeah, everything's identical right now. The latest build is July 2nd. The patch came out yesterday on default, but we had the hotfix today. Oopsie. Really try hard to avoid having to do that. And I woke up this morning and I was greeted very nicely by Joshua, who tells me in very gentle terms that we were going to have to deploy a hotfix, and he was exactly right. And we got it out first thing this morning, though. But yeah, everything you're seeing is accessible by everybody right now. An option to rotate objects after you build them instead of dismantle and rebuild. Or pre-place and a cover. Well, you can't you just cancel it before? Just cancel the object before they even start building it. And when you place a second one, you won't get billed for it again. They'll use the one that was already ordered.
Just to demonstrate. Loop. Oh, wrong direction. Cancel. Loop. Looks fine. And I didn't get charged a second time. And I still placed it wrong.
Yeah, you only get charged once. And if you don't want it at all, you could go sell it. You would get back, I think, 90% of the value. I'd have to double check. It's either 90 or 50%. I forget. Maybe it's 90% of material value. I'd have to check. But we're probably not going to let you rotate them after they're placed. I'm generally pretty happy with like the construction systems. There are some like tweaks that I wouldn't mind seeing, but not really a whole lot of functionality that I think really goes all that far gameplay value wise. If anything, it's more UI UX stuff where I see the biggest benefit being, and even that, like the quick select, that helps tremendously already. Moving benches that don't look right, or placing a belt backwards. The belts, don't you guys zoom in real far when you're placing like a security scan or something? That's what I do, because I want to get the arrows right, and it's important to get like the positions exactly right to get the most efficient setup when doing like security. Generally, I'll set up one like station or set, and then I'll just use the clone tool from there and just continue to duplicate it.
There's a good reason pretty much all security lanes look the same in this airport, by the way.
Yeah, you did the same thing, huh?
Yeah, there's actually one different small little security. I've got the idea of some players. Really interesting idea to have a second separate security specifically for flight crews. Lovely idea, works great if you assign a queue to every security lane. If you don't have the queues assigned to every lane, the flight crew, as you can see here, the flight attendant may just use the normal security lane, which is fine. They only use it when they can. If the time it takes them to do it is about equal or less than going through the special security. But if you give all the lanes queue and disable flight crews on all the lanes, then they will have to use that security. Lovely thing to do.
Yeah. Edgy Sprat over on Twitch says, can't stress enough how much the last update pushed the game up the ladder. Performance seems to have improved a lot. Big airports are no longer a problem for me. He gives us specs. Pretty fast computer, about the same as my dev machine. Used to be critical in the past, but I'm becoming a really happy customer now. Nothing to complain about. Really good work. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. It's good to hear. We're trying hard. I wouldn't say there were a number of things this cycle that I was a little frustrated we didn't get like finished, or there are a couple of pathfinding and performance things I think that we could do a better job on. It's just it's a time crunch at this point. Basically, we can't afford to put, a full month in making it's great when we've got the log of things that we really want to add. We're getting to the point where something's got to give, and so it's an internal fight. There's no doubt about that. So I'm really glad to hear, though, that you saw such solid gains from this cycle. Really, when this happens every time, but putting the patch notes together, I was surprised. I mean, this cycle has a ton in it. There's really a lot of polished stuff. Like, they're borderline like bug fixes / things just working tighter and better. I don't know how else to really describe it, but yeah, I'm glad to see that it's noticeable in the gameplay. Very, very much. You mentioned Edgy Sprat here on Twitch. Can't a people mover just be a visual one? A defined area in which the passenger is forced to walk at a certain speed and must not stop. So you can do that. The problem is you lose some realism. Like, we could implement, and I mean, this is easy, like moving walkway or an escalator could just be like a direct link between two cells, and that would work fine. You would never have like any performance issues. The best path would always be the same one. The problem is it's not very realistic. You would never need two escalators, and in real life, there's a reason that you see two escalators. It's truly a throughput problem. Like, you can go look at specs on escalators and see what the estimated throughput is of an escalator in terms of like passengers a minute or hour. That's really what I want to be able to simulate. To me, it's like maybe to a fault. I don't like cheaping out on stuff like that. Like, if you end up only needing one escalator for the entire airport, or one per like area, it takes a lot of weight in my mind, and it's just unrealistic. If you can have 2,000 people simultaneously riding an escalator up, it flusters me. So yeah, I mean, that's where it comes in. If you want to get that level of detail, and I really kind of do, you have to be able to have different best paths. There are some areas where an approach like that might make sense. But yeah, I mean, it really comes down to, do you want to have a defined threshold of capacity for the path object? And in my mind, the answer to that is pretty much, yeah, you must. In fact, I would like even like corridors to have a better defined capacity. Prison Architect did this very well, at least in what I'd now call kind of the finished product. It wasn't great throughout the entire game's alpha, but in Prison Architect, the way the agents bump off of each other and bounce off each other, and the way they enter a room when there's a whole bunch of them at once, it significantly slows them down when they first hit that doorway. And those of you that have played it probably are aware of this, but you can set up your doorways in such a way where, to me, it's a little exploitish, but such a way where they'll spread out better, and it'll save like a tremendous amount of time. Like, your cafeteria, when set up with a doorway a certain way, you can get guys in there and out like 40 minutes faster. I would like to see SimAirport work a little bit better in that regard, where the movement bounces off each other and slows people down a little bit better, so that you're forced to have ample sized corridors. There's a little bit of that already. Tried to get more of it in the dangerous branch this cycle, and just it's shocking how difficult it is to make an agent follow a path and not end up in a wall, or it's like really shockingly tough, at least to do it and be able to have 4,000 of them doing it at once. It's like really tough. Ooh, I missed a bunch on YouTube. I'm sorry. Phil T, I love one thing. Passengers behave like real when boarding. They crowd in front of the counters an hour before. Yeah, that was important to me, and I still find it absurd. I'm the guy I'm at the bar or sitting back reading until they've called last call once or twice, and they always roll their eyes at me. But like, why do I want to line up? We're all getting on the same plane. I'd rather stroll on there, walk straight to my seat, drop my overhead bag, and go to sleep. I don't see any reason to be standing there waiting in the jetway for 30 minutes. And I certainly don't want to wait in line for the privilege of that. I still don't understand it to this day. I can't stand flying Southwest because of that. Southwest has no assigned seating, and I tell my wife, instead of assigned seating like everybody else, they have their patented bum rush. Everybody has to line up and wait, and it's like running of the bulls. It's stupid. I know some people love Southwest too. I don't know. Really, that it works like that in 2 Point Hospital, Andy. You can there's a planning mode for objects where like you place them all and then you click a button or hit confirm, and then all of a sudden that's when they're ordered, something like that. I've read very good things about 2 Point Hospital. I've looked at some videos and stuff. It looks like they did a really good job on the game, which is awesome to see. I'm a little bummed that what's the other one? Theme hospital. What's the theme hospital one?
Wasn't Theme Hospital the successor of 2 Point?
Oh no. Oh okay, no. I got them confused. So 2 Point Hospital is the one. Yeah, it's the successor. You're right, Joshua.
And the early game, I don't know which one it was, but even the early game did it that way. So you build the room, put objects in, and only once you hit confirm, the room's actually placed.
Really? I don't recall that. It wasn't like that in Theme Park. Theme Park was all exterior. Huh. Yeah, I got confused. I was thinking Project Hospital. From everything I've read, Project Hospital is perhaps the better game, even. Although I know 2 Point, it's a beautiful looking game. I'm dying to know. Surely one of you guys knows how many agents can you end up with at once in 2 Point Hospital?
I don't think 2 Point Hospital is gonna be as big as anything in a SimAirport.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Like, I'm dying to know how well it performs. It's a beautiful looking game though. Hubbit asks, did you see my Steam post about gate bridges? And I did see it. I think they look very sexy. I also the perspective part, I recall, I'm trying to think now what thought went through my head when I read it. Wasn't the greatest thought. The perspective, we can't change the perspective. That's right. I know what my thought was. So the screenshot, it's awesome. The thing I noticed right away is it's not tile aligned. And that was where I was a little almost confused maybe what the suggestion was. Is it to have that be a separate placeable, like the bridge itself? And to be honest, I read it late last night. I'd have to pull it back up to know, because you probably did say. James C., thank you for that bug. I'm going to put it in right now so we get it fixed. Got that in our tracker. Thank you.
What can the usual bar be assigned to? It can't be
The
assigned to a
what?
kitchen. A bar.
Should be assignable to a kitchen, right?
It isn't.
Wasn't there a post on this yesterday where it only worked in one direction?
That's PA speakers. You can assign. Actually, the assign to works. The assignment lines for PA speakers to PA amplifiers don't work, but the assignment lines from PA amplifiers to speakers work fine. But
Gotcha.
so the bar currently has an assign to, I guess, because it's a kiosk, like the other ones. But it can't be assigned to anything. Or at least I don't remember what it should be assigned to.
Momo, I could have sworn it was supposed to go to the kitchen, but
I guess so too, but as far as I can see, it only sells cola and fizzy lemonade. Both should come from deliveries.
okay, yeah. In that case, yeah, maybe it is just an errant assigned to button. I'll check real quick.
In the meantime,
Yeah.
Object planning was a question on YouTube.
Yeah, that's what we were just talking about. Ah, crap! I hit update my IDE.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I think that's just a bug. Yeah, we were just talking about the object planning.
Well, we were mostly talking about the games and how they do it, but not actually how we could do it.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna.
Are you a fan of it? Sounds like
actually, like I didn't really play Theme Hospital or the newer ones, but what I really loved was again how Factorio did it. They have a ghost mode, and in ghost mode whichever object you have on your cursor, if you hold shift, you get the ghost image of that object. And they have this extremely well made blueprint system where you can blueprint something and just put down the whole blueprint as in shift mode, in ghost mode. And later you can just press Q on it, on the objects that have been planned, and click the mouse button. Since once you press Q on it, so what we call quick select, you have the object that is planned on that field on your cursor.
Huh. And if you want to once you have something in ghost mode, though, can you just build a single object like that too? Like, is there where on the screen is there like a check mark or something? How do you tell it you like it?
What do you mean by that?
Like, how do you say like build it now? Once
So
like if you place a couple of ghost objects.
yeah, so in Factorio there's three ways. The one way I already talked about, you press Q on it, then you have that single object, you place it down. The second way, which we won't be able to implement, you have automated robots, which can place it down for you, automated. That's not gonna work. And method 3 is if you have the blueprint and you place it, everything that you can reach in game, which for us that would be the whole map, just instantly places.
Gotcha. Okay.
But you have no real way of saying, yeah, I want this all the planet stuff built now. So if we wanted to do it, we should have something like an area fulfill button or something, an area place button.
Gotcha.
So you plan ahead the whole room, and if you are happy with it, just use that tool, hover over it or zone over it, and everything gets placed.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to it by any means. It sounds to me like it wouldn't be that difficult.
We'd need a ghost mode system. I don't know how hard that is to implement, but like a tool to go from ghost mode to build mode, that shouldn't be a big problem.
No, I mean, really, the objects already have a construction state planning or planned or something like that. That the object is in while it's hovered on your mouse. So it would really just be a matter of allowing you to get more than one of those at once, which that's exactly what the clone tool does too. The only thing we don't do right now, we never serialize those, so we don't save them. But other than that, like it would generally probably just kind of work. Yeah, I don't see really why it wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I don't know. I don't know how valuable it might be, but yeah.
Would mean you could actually plan ahead stuff. I mean, you can currently plan ahead stuff, but you currently only have the couple of planning colors. So if you want to plan an object, like let's say I want to plan another bag carousel, I go to another bag carousel. It's 3x5. Let's go somewhere where there's enough place and just plan it 3x5 planning, and that's it. And later you can just go ahead and place one on it, but that's still not really planning and just working around the colors you have currently.
Hubbit, had to go. Did you see my last question? I may or may not have. I keep getting scrolled up.
That was the gate bridges.
Oh yeah, I did. I talked about it. The gate bridges. So the one thing I noticed right away, and I thought the screenshot looked great. The thing I noticed right away though was that it wasn't tile aligned. And let me pull it back up though. I forget if you were talking about having it be a separate placeable, or if it was the same. So just to make sure, you're probably aware, but you can already put the roads like that. But you can put them directly underneath at least, not 2-lane. So would this be a single object that you would place? It would already come with roads built in. How do you like kind of envision that? That's really the main thing that I'm curious. Mod Air, is multiplayer for SimAirport possible maybe. No, probably not. I mean, it's possible, but we're not going to do it. I'm sure the Prison Architect said the same thing at some point on one of their one of their streams or in their forum or something. And lo and behold, they did it, which still boggles my mind. It's very impressive because I'm sure it took a lot of work. Although they kind of washed their hands of it right after they released that by selling to Paradox. So I don't know how well it actually works, but I could pretty much say without doubt we won't do multiplayer. I don't honestly think it adds much value. I would love to someday do a multiplayer game. I'm a very competitive person, and I compete on everything to a real fault. My wife, I can drive her nuts. I mean, one of the many ways I have up my sleeve to drive her crazy. But I do. I love multiplayer stuff. I love competition. It really, I just don't think it fits with a game like this. Yeah, and there are just like thousands of entities, and there's so much. I have considered, like, could we use like a network device to do some of the calculations and stuff, and even then, like the latency you're talking about here, game code runs really fast. When I made web stuff for a living, we'd be thrilled with like 2 or 3 millisecond like return times for a query and stuff like that. I mean, 2 or 3 milliseconds in a game is like an eternity when it comes to like code. So yeah, I don't have any interest personally in making SimAirport be multiplayer. It just doesn't do anything for me. And at the end of the day, that drives a lot of the decisions, how much it invigorates me. The fact it doesn't do much for me can pretty much tell you for sure it won't be something that we'll be trying or playing with. David S. I noticed when placing roads on gates. Yeah, so the all the service vehicles, they ignore one-ways entirely. And it probably looks stupid to a new player too. It probably looks like it's bugged. I mean, I guess visually it pretty much does look bugged. It is bugged. It's been an intentional decision, though, to allow the service vehicles to go any direction on. Like, they ignore taxiway one-ways, they ignore the one-ways on roads. It generally is better to let them pathfind themselves, and they don't use the occupancy grid for those roads either, so they can be on top of each other, unlike like the airplanes. It's something I'd love to fix. I don't know if we will, though. The reality is, I've said this on past streams. I know why Prison Architect didn't make buildable roads. Like, and I've seen their mods where you can make buildable roads. I don't know how well they work, but I know exactly why they didn't do it. It's because it is a serious black hole pit of time despair. I think all said and done, and the roads out front of the airport still don't work the way I want them to, or as well as I want them to. The aircraft taxiways, they work pretty damn good. But yeah, I mean, basically it took, I would say something like 30-40% of all dev time went to road related stuff, and out like 3 or 4 months ago. It ate up a ton of time. Yeah, and that's my feeling too, David S. is leave it alone. It works well enough. It's not the way I'd like it to be. like the traffic to work like it should in real life, but there are so many. You can, if you Google, go to Google Scholar. I spend too much time on Google Scholar these days. I never anticipated that out of game development, but it's the fact of the matter. Go to Google Scholar and search for traffic simulation. Just traffic simulation or agent traffic or anything along those lines, and look how many research papers there are written about simulating traffic. And I mean, you'll be able to find algorithms that are like multiple pages long about like the most performant way to simulate traffic or the most realistic way that will not have good performance. Like there's 100-page papers written on this topic. I wish I'd known that 4 or 5 years ago. I had no idea. I mean, it's logical, but I assumed we could make, I see racing games. Can't be that much harder to have them stop at stoplights and stuff, right? Turns out it's basically a whole industry. How's our airport coming along, Joshua?
We're working pretty good. We're still not making any money. Still got some money left.
Is it break even?
Not exactly. Still a little down. But
do we have the passengers catching their flights despite the exteriors, the non-secure food vending?
Yes. I just watched one. They are starting to use stuff, especially the phone charging station. They love to use out here, and even a passenger all the way on gate B1, one of the new bigger ones, went to the phone charger at like 5 a.m. for a departure at 10. Charged up the phone and then slowly started walking over. Got all the way to security and to the gate in time.
Awesome. So I've got witnesses here. When I say this in the forum later on, you guys can back me up, but you can indeed build all the retail you want outside of security and still expect passengers to make their flights, assuming you don't have other unrelated layout issues. I mean, essentially, it shouldn't be, the retail outside of security should be a non-factor. I wasn't 100% that was going to be the case, but I was fairly, I know it should, the intent is that it's the case.
By the way, just to show it off, I built a road on the gate, and you can see the service cars driving over it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so we got, I mean, this is half of what you're talking about, yeah? I mean, not really, but some of it. It would probably, how about might be, are you working right now? Yeah, I'd like to see those guys be on splines too, so they look better.
Which ones?
Like even just when they're pulling on and off of the gate.
Also on the depot, on the baggage depot. Actually, when working at the hangar stuff, I didn't even use splines.
You just use, oh yeah. What'd you do? Just pick 2 points?
Not exactly. If I had 2 points, which would always be the same, that would be an easy task with splines. Just take the agent pos and those 2 points. But the problem with splines is that depending on how you build it, on which taxiway road combination, the agent vehicle may not be straight always, or straight in sense of a 90-degree angle to the building. So making a spline that looks good, that goes straight and then only turns, instead of going, if you want to go right into the hangar, I sometimes had the problem that they would go left first. So
yeah, it definitely requires at least 3 points.
Yeah, and that's a pretty annoying thing to do. I thought about maybe completely splining it out, as in having pre-calculated splines for each and every segment, except for going straight, so that if you have all splines pre-calculated, you are 100% sure that the two connecting splines are always straight, so that the transition is always a
that's
good
how
looking
the
one.
aircraft work, but they follow the entire path as a spline. For what you were doing though, the easiest way is just regenerate a new spline each time, and you got to generate it from current position, and then you got to get at least 2 additional points, ideally 3, if you want to keep a decent control. It's generally way easier. You end up with very good result even when they end up in like strange positions. That's another one I'd like to see fixed here though too, is these guys driving down the center there. I mean, even if could get them off to the side, it'd be cool to see them use an occupancy grid, but yeah, I don't know. Is it worth doing? Hubbard said answers above. Okay. I don't see the answers. Oh, optional placeable. I see. So you would build like the parking spot itself first, and then you would build like an optional placeable for the jetway. And the roads wouldn't be there at all. David S., any thoughts on baggage and passengers getting to standby gates on time? They're most likely at another gate. Okay, so they should be able to. It just comes down to like what standbys are you giving? Are you setting up? Is there a way to restrict it though? There may not be, which may mean you're a little bit stranded. If you have like a pretty good sized airport, is that right? Is that right, Joshua?
What? I didn't
So,
listen, sorry.
No worries. I was kind of half watching you too. Yeah, can the standby gates be restricted at all, or are they like they're global? So there's the only restriction is by reachability. There's no player imposed restriction. So sorry, I'm in my own head thinking through how I could solve the problem.
Yeah.
So like
I
standby
noticed.
gates right now, if you have a standby gate and an aircraft takes it because its gate is used, the aircraft can pick any of the available standby gates, and it's not going to be. There's no way for the player to like pick which one it'll be to make sure it's like the closest one. It should automatically be picking the closest one and the smallest size.
Closest
yeah.
one to what?
What's that?
If you pick the closest one to the runway, that's a different story than picking the closest one to, or the closest path for the passengers that have to move.
It should be picking the closest one to his first gate. And then it does that well before it even decides which runway it's going to land on. I'm almost positive. I'll have to double check that, but yeah, the issue is basically you could end up having them pick a standby gate that the passengers are going to have no prayer of making it to, because it could be on Terminal Z when the flight was originally scheduled for A. And right now, there's no way to control that. I mean, it sounds to me that we need to give you a way to be able to control that. At the very least, we need to make sure it's intelligently picking the nearest one. But it sounds to me like you'd be better off being able to control it. And then you could basically achieve that, the gate group type concept. If you could control that, you could achieve the gate group concept too. Pretty much.
As in a group always, if you have a group, the standby gate in that group is always used first.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or not even only. I mean, you could restrict it. So gate A2 only uses standby gates in this grouping. Basically a list of what standby gates can be used for a given gate. Do you use standby gates at all, Joshua?
No. I think I haven't ever, in the nearly 1,000 hours of playtime, used a single standby gate in an airport.
You just pad them? You just keep it padded enough where you never have an issue?
Yeah. And usually, like I do in this airport, half an hour padding for the early landing.
Yeah, it's quite a bit of padding, though. I mean, you could get probably 10 to 20% more flights in. That's pushing it, but maybe 10%.
You have to remember that planes may land early. So if you give half an hour space and the first plane is delayed because of one passenger missing,
it'll never be delayed because of one passenger missing, ever.
Let's be real. It may. So
kinda.
Let's just plan ahead as if there was a passenger missing. So plane 1, passenger missing. So it only departs at its end of the slot time, which means that's gonna be plus 5 minutes of the slot time just to have that gate freed up. So if you schedule them at 0 minutes in 0 minutes time between, the second plane already has to be 5 minutes late. If you schedule at 10 minutes, that's already earliest possible time for the plane to land is 5 minutes early.
I follow.
But if you do a half an hour, you've got 25 minutes. That's so much that usually every taxi time is completely used up by that. At the end,
although, I mean, still though, you're leaving value on the table basically, and that's kind of like what I was getting at is, I understand what you're saying, and especially when, like you, don't see it yet, but you had a long streak going on. You're basically erring on the side of caution instead of being aggressive and getting an extra 4 flights a day. I follow though.
With the concept of temporary stands, that time could be extremely pulled down.
Right, because then you could cram them in, and and not run the risk. Well, it's the exact same concept with the standby gates. And I mean, it almost sounds to me like the reason you don't use the standby gates is because it's too risky. If you end up having the plane fall back to the standby gate, if you could control that and make sure that it was right there, then you could use the standby gate the same exact way as you could a temporary spot. And that's really all it is it's a standby gate that doesn't inconvenience passengers at all, at least not the ones leaving. It inconveniences the ones arriving.
I still don't think it's the same. It would be the same.
I mean, it really basically is, because it allows that plane to land even though his gate's occupied. There's other different, like, it doesn't take up space right next to your terminal, which right now is very much at a premium.
So just to get back to the grouping, if you have, let's say 4 gates grouped together with 1, so 5 in general, 5 gates, 4 normals, and 1 standby. What happens if 2 planes at the same time are late? Standby gate is used up, so 1 has to be cancelled.
If under a standby situation?
When using standby system, yeah. If you have temporary stands, the second plane can already land.
Well, it comes down to it comes down to your N. How many do you have? I mean, it's a capacity thing, so it's going to cancel if you don't have enough places to put those aircraft at the moment, yeah. But it really should work the exact same with, let's say you have you have 1 standby gate, or in the other scenario, you have 1 temporary parking spot. That means you'll be able to get 1 aircraft at a time in while the gates are all still occupied. In the case of standby gate, he would actually deplane and they would board. In the case of a temporary, he would be sitting there waiting until one of those opened up.
Just to go back to an interesting point, a standby gate is an unused spot, otherwise though.
Right, and that's the biggest distinction. Basically, it comes down to price / space availability right next to your terminal. I mean, that's really the main distinction, is what we set the price at, and the fact that the space that you could put it at isn't at such a premium. I mean, very similar to remote gates in that regard.
I just wanted to say, now imagine those temporary spots could actually act like gates and just have buses transport the passengers.
Right, and that's kind of how we got talking about it originally too. I mean, in the grand scheme, is in the code, that's basically what they'll be, minus the buses.
Yeah.
Or and that's kind of how I even got my head started on it, is, oh, hey, that is all it is. It's really just a remote gate minus a bus, which is something we could do very easily. Because it'll use the exact same code, basically. It'll pre-path to that point, and then from there it'll head in once it can. Yeah, so I guess the question is, what's most valuable? I mean, or do we just add all these things? This is the toughest part of building a game like this, is like, I'd love to just say, okay guys, see you later, we're gonna go code all this. Like, it's a little tough not to want to do that. Yeah, I guess my mindset is same thing with temporary parking, but temporary parking is going to give you an automatic, you'll have the reachability. You can query to see what temporary parking could I occupy right now. Yeah, I don't have a strong gut either way. I guess my mindset would be build the remote gates, and then probably just throw in a temporary parking concept and see what happens. It essentially is. It's a standby gate that can't be used to deplane or board. That's really all it is. And any plane that's occupying it will continually be checking to see if its gate is available, or potentially even see if a standby is available. And if the plane ends up sitting there for 6 hours, you get fined.
For 6 hours?
Yeah,
I
I had
just
that
say,
that happened to me at JFK.
I just say if it has to stay any longer than the slot time.
Well, no, I'm talking about temporary though, the temporary parking.
Yeah,
Oh, if it has to stay later
yeah,
than the departure time.
exactly.
Gotcha.
So if you
Yeah, that makes
if you land half an hour early and you have a slot time of 90 minutes, if you stand every hour over, starting over 2 hours on the temporary parking spot, will just cost you extra.
gotcha. And I wasn't in front of the chat. I am now. I'm reading through what. So passengers should start moving as soon as the gate is picked on a standby. I mean, there may be like a 5 or 10 minute delay. It's actually the delay should be based on how satisfied their information need is. So if they're well informed, they should pretty much immediately start moving. Like the worst case, it should be like 15, 20 minutes at most. They I don't believe they'll sprint. They may move a little quicker though. I forget if change the movement speed or not. Schedule 3 flights per day. You can only get 2 flights per day on it per gate. No, you must be really spacing them then or something, because over here he's got a ton of flights coming in. But yeah, I mean, that's basically the risk, right? David S says when flights start backing up, the whole gate schedule ends up backing up throughout the day. I mean, that's basically the exact paradigm that you're faced with, is either you're going to be aggressive with it and face cascading delays. Hello, O'Hare. Or you're going to be conservative, and we can see here Josh is trending very much towards the conservative side, and basically have them get out right away. I follow. So if you group them. Oh, sorry, I missed Andy leaving. Goodbye, though, Andy. Hope you have a very good evening. Yeah, Douglas is right. In any sim game, certain amount of realism is good. Yeah, and so I wrote a couple posts on this over the last few days. I think one of them on Reddit. Something we've really kind of prided ourselves on. I don't think we're perfect at it by any means, but we favor fun over realism like every day of the week. I know that someone asked about this a little bit earlier, but will we add more ground vehicles? And the answer is want to, but want to be really careful. If we do anything that makes the turnaround time always have to be longer, then you end up with basically fewer lower total throughput, which hurts the game pacing and basically translates to less fun. That's the crux of most of these problems is like, yeah, we can implement any of this stuff. I mean, really, like any of it, it's all just a function of time. We try to pick the stuff that's the best value. But the next question is basically which one should be implemented. Like some of the stuff, there are niche use cases, and a lot of us here are power users. I personally am like I think more about like the scheduling. I like that kind of stuff. There's a lot of players though that like even today the scheduling is a little bit much for them. And so I mean it's a balance, and we try to err towards fun. We're never going to make everybody happy though, but yeah, and that's why mods are great. I do want to do I'm not going to lie though, I do want to do something more on the scheduling side. I love the fishbowl aspect of it, like I love that concept where you configure something, you like kind of theorize about this is how it will work. You set up a configuration, and then you play and see if it works the way you thought it would, and then you tweak. And that to me is like the entire time, that's the concept I've been chasing with this game. I do want to get some more configurability, either like between runways / scheduling. I want to see more there. David S., have a very good one. Thank you for joining us. Thank you very much for the praise. Hubbit, are you going to get the updated? Yeah. So Hubbit asks on YouTube, are you going to get the updated control tower audio in Edge soon? The answer is yes. The how soon is, Joshua, do you have that answer?
Next week, maybe?
It could be merged. It needs listened to first, but my understanding is it is ready.
I haven't tested it after it finished.
Yeah, so
but I think it's pretty good.
I think it is. I know he worked on updating and redoing some of the ambiance audio. So I think that's in too. I'm not 100%, but yeah, if you can maybe check that out tomorrow, Joshua. There's a chance it could be merged and we could just ship it. Probably a pretty good chance. Excuse me. Somebody said. So yeah, I would expect there's a pretty good chance it'll be in this week. Probably better than pretty good. George Pearson. Is this new? Yeah, this is. This just came out on Default Branch yesterday, in the big new patch that just came out. Yeah, Phil T. That we're definitely going to do that with like events. There have been a few, like weather is like that. There's a couple along those lines. We don't really want to do it with like scheduling, but like Joshua said, Joshua has something like 2,000 hours of game players. I mean, a really large amount. He's been playing way longer than he's been developing.
Only at 1,000, but yeah.
1,000?
Yeah.
Still. Hey, you're in the same realm. Yeah, so like features like that, I don't think are a detraction. It's more about the stuff that you must use, making sure it's easy to use. Any plans for the game, George? Lots of plans for the game. If you haven't, check out the roadmap over on Trello. It's got a pretty good. It mirrors our thinking pretty well. My thinking does, admittedly, vary a little bit day to day. I chase shiny stuff too much, but on the whole, overall, it does. It mirrors kind of our overall strategy. First person view, not happening. We did play around with it a little bit at one point just to see. The reality is, like, it would be a ton of work. It would take probably take 2 or 3 months. Let's see. Am I missing any? Cargo airport. So cargo is on the roadmap. Mod Air just posted a link to the roadmap too. Thank you, Mod Air. Cargo is something I really would kind of like to do. Wouldn't be that difficult. It basically would be like the luggage system. The main difference would be it would require some new objects, like a loading dock type stuff. And some like airline changes, but it really wouldn't be too overly difficult. It's not something we're going to try to get done before we transition to full release, though. It is something I know a lot of people want, and I like the idea. I like it seems to me like it gives an outsized impact on potential gameplay. And so I think it would be a very good use of time, especially most of the algorithm work is done. It'd be mostly like the logic, the higher level logic that would be required. Whether we get to it or not, hard to say. I mean, honestly, it kind of depends on how well release goes. But it's something definitely would like to do if we're able to. Military airfield, wouldn't do just like a military airfield, but I will say that events. So when thinking about events, that's something that's crossed my mind is even just having like an emergency aircraft land. I think that would be pretty cool. I'd like to see a couple of really unique aircraft, like even just seeing like an F-16 land because it's got a hydraulic failure or something like that. I think would be a pretty cool event. Yeah, we've been talking about GA Hubbit. Josh and I talked about it yesterday. I don't think any of the original code is overly usable. I mean, I think that was like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. The code has changed so drastically since then. I mean, it's not like we could just merge it in. There's probably not a whole lot of overly useful code. We obviously still have the objects though and all that. I think it would add a lot. It would add a lot to some play styles. I think other play styles it wouldn't add anything. Conceptually though, also even just from a marketing standpoint, I think that we're going to tentatively try to get some of it in. That said, I mean, this happens every time. Josh and I were talking about some of this yesterday and even just before the stream. And what did I say? Something like, there's only so many ways to cram 2 months worth of work into 1 month. The reality is there's no way to do that, really. As much as I wish that was not the case. We do have, like, the object-wise, we've got basically everything we need for it. We did repurpose a couple of things. I mean, we even have, like, a flight simulator object that you were able to, you're going to be able to buy for your flight school to increase its prestige and to have another product to sell the flight school people. Like, yeah, I mean, you could probably tell from my posts, like, I really do love the idea. I just, it did not play well the first time we went about it. Part of that too, the game just was nowhere near as good, like mature. Yeah, and you can always use GA Airline mods, but the thing is, like, yeah, once you can do it with code, then you could do it probably more legitimately. Space shuttle emergency, that would be super cool. Yeah, leader of a country landing, that is like words right out of my mouth. I think that makes, in fact, that's one we talked about, is a VIP, basically any kind of VIP landing. And then your goal, you needing to make sure that they get in and out without any issue. Oh, I'm sorry, Edgy. Understandably ignored over here. I'm sorry. You're feeling refreshed, though, I hope. Actually, I had read everything through room planning. Temp parking. Yeah, I mean, I guess at the end of the day, to me, it really comes down to the remote gates, because right now space is a supreme premium to be connected to your terminal. I mean, you basically cannot waste it to have an efficient setup. So that's like the number one thing. And then beyond that, it's basically how much configurable, like, is that enough even? Because then you could set those up as fallbacks. Maybe that is enough. Or maybe you can use a remote gate as a temporary parking spot. Yeah, and I mean, really thinking about it, they really are the same. The only difference is whether the bus behavior comes and picks them up or not. But I mean, keep saying kind of the same thing in my head. Is it basically comes back to, yeah, we need to implement the remote gates and see how much, if any, additional complexity is valuable versus too complex. I kind of think that's really the reality.
Oh, I've got another bug for you, for the tracker.
Hit me.
Outdoor placeables, while being constructed, are visible underground, including the percentage number.
Including the what?
The percentage, build completion percentage.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Got it in there. Hotels. George Pearson asks, not in this game. Not going to do hotels in SimAirport. We kind of toss idea around it at some point. I'm of the belief that there's already enough stuff going on in an airport that there's really not a ton of value in it. I don't think that there's. I'm of the opinion there's already too much stuff that goes on in an airport. One of the things that kind of gets you hooked in Prison Architect, right, is that it's pretty simple, and you can get all this layered complexity, but it's still fairly straightforward. That there's not everything stays pretty confined. All the little side stuff, you can have logging and all that. That's the one thing I actually don't love about the same game, the same type of game for airports is everything, all these side things become a lot less confined. They very, very much are. There's a lot more distinction. And so at some point, you just got to kind of draw the line. I do think hotels would be very cool, but we're not going to do them for SimAirport. Hubbit, yeah. I mean, the reality is not really checking Steam very much, and I'm annoyed because every 5 minutes it says reconnecting, and then I see the same stuff over and over, and I've like replied to myself twice over there. Yeah, I really don't think very many people use the chat, even if they are watching over on Steam.
To be fair,
But yeah,
at some point we had only you streaming, which was way worse. You playing the game and trying to read 3 chats at once.
Yeah, we've come a long way already. That's a very good point. Phil T, staff only arrived by bus. Yeah, forgot about that. Yeah, I'm gonna log that right now. It's not really a bug so much as an oversight. At one point, they did come through light rail as well, and as we were like refactoring code and simplifying some stuff, we ended up with them only getting spawned by vehicles, and it's pretty trivial to make them be able to spawn by both. I think we just kind of forgot. I've put that into a tracker. Cool. Is there anything else you guys want to see? We'll probably start wrapping up. I'm honestly a little bit itchy to write some code on some of the stuff we've talked about. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, anything you want to see, if you've got some anger you want to express towards us, really anything. Yeah, they're using them. Oh, you fenced it in.
Yeah, it still looks funky. By the way, there's no real great way to place 2 besides each other, since crosswalks are only one with object, but adhere to the 2x2 grid. Ah, never mind, you can rotate them. Forget what I just said.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it looked... You think that looks funky, though?
Yeah, it seems like they work besides the crosswalk, not actually over it.
Yeah, it does seem slightly off. Drinking fountains. I remember you asked about drinking fountains a long time ago.
Also, as soon as I put two besides each other, they start walking around and use the road again. So it seems like
that explains it.
it really seems like they try to avoid it rather than use it.
They use the second one. I see what's... That explains what the issue is. It's
No, they don't
heuristic.
use this. Well, they
What's
have
that?
to use the second one, but if you see it now, they walk all the way around to avoid the first part of the crosswalk, and only walk across the second one because they have to enter the terminal.
Can you show me the sector?
Small tip for Clan Gibbons. Asking or talking about being annoyed that you have to open the build menu for pretty much all construction tools. Most construction tools you can get by hotkeys. If you press X, it gives you the demolish tool, C for dismantle, V for clone tool, which it doesn't select, but it actually selects. It just doesn't select in the build menu. And for pretty much all the needs of flooring, placeables or foundation, Q, outside for foundation, on a placeable to get that placeable, on floor to get that floor, and Shift Q for zones.
I basically rely on Q a lot. I pretty much only use Q. I always forget about Shift Q for zones, but like Q alone gets me 90% of what I want. I take that back. I use X and C a lot too.
Pretty much the whole palette.
Yeah, you can customize all those too in the key bindings. You can switch them up to be different keys.
You can even
through the
configure them.
preferences.
You can even configure them to be 3 different at once.
Yeah.
Mouse side buttons don't work.
It's a hardware issue. We just do software here.
Well, yeah.
You throw pods? Are those the sleeping pods? I'm not sure what.
No, Heathrow pods are automated people mover, but like completely automated. So it's technically cars, just automatically driving cars. I don't know who, but I think Tom Scott did a video about it recently. I know someone did.
And they're not on tracks. They're cars.
It's not technically tracks. It's just you have think about a road made from concrete, and you have a little bit of concrete to either side.
Okay,
So
just like a curb.
yeah, just a higher curb, so the vehicles can't go off the track. It's not really the track; it's just a road with a high curb, pretty much. And they
I see.
automatically drive from A to B, and you can select the destination. And
Oh, no kidding.
so if you're at terminal A, you want to go to C, you don't have to go via B, but directly go, which
Uh-huh.
it's better than public transit, since public transit always has to stop at any point. And I think they only use it for connecting the terminal and the parking spaces.
I had never seen that. I got the Wikipedia open on it. It's interesting, and it's also interesting. They basically operate like trains. There is no interaction between vehicles. Follows a set path. Actually, the central synchronous control. So, okay, this probably uses A-Star 3D, which is the exact same thing that that our aircraft use to pathfind.
Fun fact: I actually wrote a paper, a small, really small paper, about a similar topic in harbors, automated vehicles in harbors.
Huh. But yeah, I mean, there. So according to Wikipedia, it uses lasers for vehicle position and heading. But beyond that, I mean, it's asking the central synchronous control. It's asking like a manager, give me a path. It gets the path, and I mean, it's basically just path following. This sounds like. Well, it uses fixed block signaling systems like railways, which is a little strange. You'd kind of expect they would simply use pathfinding. Basically, a time reservation system, although that relies on guaranteeing they can be there. So if you have a breakdown, yeah, it'd be problematic. Huh.
Might actually be a mixture of it.
Yeah, I would assume so. It says immediately allocates the passenger vehicle and instructs the vehicle to follow a set path and timing to reach the destination. Set path and timing implies to me that it's time steps with basically A-Star 3D.
Yeah.
Anyway, to answer the question, no, we're not going to do Heathrow pods. I mean, it would work, but yeah, it's quite it'd be a lot to do just for moving around what appears to be like 5 to 10 people at once or so. Which it's shocking that they even do this in real life.
It's pretty efficient between parking spots and the one terminal it goes to. I think it only goes to one, so it's pretty much no traffic whatsoever. And it's like the no big parking space, but just a small parking lot. We had the one topic about worst airport. I mentioned Frankfurt. Frankfurt
Yeah.
has a really funny similar system. It's nothing automated, but it's just a cable car between the main airport building and the big parking garage.
With somebody driving it?
No, it's automated,
it's automatic.
but it's not autonomous. It's just cable
Yeah.
car A B A B A B. Actually two, and they have a little split in the middle where they pass each other.
Yeah,
But it's one
Minneapolis St. Paul has something very similar, but it's a rail. It's a rail thing. It's not bad though, and I mean, they're unmanned, so at the very least, like efficiency's pretty solid if you don't have to pay somebody to drive it. These pods are incredible. It's powered by 4 car batteries, so
Yeah.
an average of 2 kilowatts. And I assume that that's like 2 kilowatt hours. But because kilowatt, my memory serves me correctly, is not a measure of capacity, but peak output. But we'll ignore that in the Wikipedia article because that's still incredible. Yeah, so it only carries 1,100 pounds. Doesn't say how many people. I don't know what they're sized like, but
Pretty small actually. I mean, it's a connection between a car park and the terminal, so it's about one car. I
so and
think.
what do they recharge them quite often or something? I don't know.
No idea when they recharge them.
They have 22 of them. It talks about efficiency. I don't know. I have a hard time believing it could be that efficient. No, I take that back. I see how it could be efficient. I don't totally understand how the throughput could be useful. It doesn't seem like the throughput would give you anything.
Well, it's not about the throughput, it's rather about getting people to park outside on a further away parking spot instead of parking
Sure, but
directly
when
at
you
the
spend 30
terminal.
million bucks, 30 million pounds, I would generally expect that you'd be hoping for some level of throughput, though, like some decent level, right?
It seems to be enough. I mean, if a car
Yeah.
goes every minute or something like that, that's already enough throughput for a pretty decent car park.
Yeah, 4 to 6 passenger. Yeah, one a minute. They go about 30 miles. It says max 30, I think, kilometers an hour. I've never seen these. I find it very interesting.
Like I said, I think Tom Scott did a video on them. Someone definitely did, I saw it. Lovely concept.
Well,
Not only
yeah, I'll
concept,
have to check
but
it out. I'm intrigued as hell. George Pearson on YouTube. Are private lounges already a thing? Yes, you can negotiate with airlines to give them private like crew lounges, first class lounges that are only for them, or you can build a lounge that's first class only for first class. Phil T. What's interesting is in Frankfurt they have one station with unsecure and directly opposite a station for secure, and the trains just open their doors differently. In Minneapolis, it's very similar. Like they have a different tram underground is a light. It's like a light rail or similar. And what happens is the secured passengers, the door opens first to the insecure area, so that their arrivals who are heading to baggage claim, and then after that, the door opens on the secure side, so those people can get on. And if they wanted, they could walk straight out into the insecure area too, but they don't want to because their departures heading to their destination. All this talk though has me wanting trams. Obviously, we're all at least a little bit fascinated by by people moving type stuff, like at least a little
and
bit.
since Habit asked why is there no connection between this specific road and this taxiway, even though the other one has it, that's what we call a feature. That's to save some of the asphalt you don't need. It's not, it's a bug.
Yeah, definitely.
Can't really tell why it's thinking it shouldn't connect. I mean, It's only is a bug for the duration of the current game. If you reload, so save and load, it will go away. So like on this one
How do
it's
you
not
know
connected, but on those roads here, it's connected because after I built them, I reloaded.
How do you know that?
I just told you.
Oh, you did. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. I'm reading. Sorry. Hope you guys aren't laughing at me. Edgy Sprat, something to complain about. Tutorial, I have a guilty conscience. It's basically really well done, but it feels too sluggish. Quick tip like tutorials would be a great enrichment. For example, if you click on a gate or the bar, if there's an info button that plays a mini tutorial, that would be great. The game is now so extensive, I think a new player will immediately forget half the tutorial. Yeah, I struggle with this because there's so much that I forget stuff, and like, I mean, at that point, you know that other people are gonna forget stuff. We try really hard. We think a lot about like how do we expose stuff, make it obvious, or like make it almost difficult not to bump into it. Like the baggage hub change this cycle. Trying to make it more clear and obvious. You could change the port types because every time I see a post on my baggage system is giving me headaches. I mean, that's what I say every time is make sure you know you can change it. It's like 80% of the time they have no idea. Even some of the people watching this right now, some of you hardcore guys didn't know it. So it's like, how do we get that in front of people? Yeah, hopefully that makes it a little more obvious. So yeah, it's just it comes down to putting it in concrete terms. Like if you, I mean, I don't want to like try to hijack your weekend or anything, but if you were to make a post that literally had concrete, like this is an area where that would be helpful, or like a list of objects with what we should be explaining on them, that's almost the hardest part, right? Because for me, I say that every time I see a thread about baggage because I know right away that's possible and I know you should know about it. Backup is an example. Yeah, I know that everyone should know about it. Very few, I don't really know any of the other ones is the problem. I mean, we tried to get away from like one-off user interface stuff where like that's why we got rid of some of the right click stuff because every single other thing in the game was you left click and then you see a menu that tells you exactly what your options are. We're trying to get more towards that direction too, where it's like you almost can't miss it. Also, I mean, I try to think back to Prison Architect and like how the heck was it that, I mean, it's a pretty complex game. I don't think I played through the like the campaign / tutorial at the beginning. I remember I Googled and read and searched Reddit a little bit to learn a few things when I first played it, but somehow I retained a lot of it. I don't know like what were. I mean, I know there are definitely concepts in this game that are a lot more like I don't want to say complex, but maybe that is true. There's just a lot more to them. Like you have to even just assigning 2 or 3 things together, and then there's requirements for stuff. That alone is above and beyond most stuff in like Prison Architect. Yeah, it will give you a week. You can have 6 weeks if for that, probably the ideas and suggestions for them on Steam, or the general. I mean, yeah, literally reread it all. Like pretty much regardless source. It could be on Reddit, and we'll see it. Yeah. Cool. Anything else anybody'd like to see, or any questions, ideas for us? Anything you would like to throw out there, Joshua?
Just a clarification for Josh Person regarding the harbor stuff. Ain't gonna go into too much of a detail since I could literally talk ages about it. But if you think about a harbor, there are three big parts you can automate. The container storage, which is the part on the harbor itself, where the containers get temporarily stored. Secondary, you have the big cranes that load and unload the ships. Those can be automated. Both of those are pretty easy. They just take containers up and put them down somewhere else. The drive in between is the interesting thing. Usually that's done by some sort of truck, some sort of container truck. But what some harbors start to do, like one part of Hamburg, is automate this middle part with completely autonomous, self-driving. It's not really trucks, it's pretty much a truck bed with an engine, some electric, some gasoline underneath it, and you only have this platform where a container can sit on, and it just takes the container from point A and brings it over to point B.
Is this, and you're talking like real life?
Yes.
No kidding?
I can post a link later.
Yeah.
If you want to Google it now, that's Hamburg Finkenwerder. It's German, but maybe someone is gonna get it right. That's mostly autonomous now. And I think Miami did it. One harbor in Miami.
Really? I had no idea about that. That's interesting. Even for the trucks? They're testing it at least. There's an article here saying they're testing the trucks too, being autonomous.
Yes, that's the main point. The trucks between the container storage and the bridges and air quotes that load and unload the ships.
Not the container unload then? I would think that'd be the most valuable part to automate.
The one in Hamburg did automate the storage, as far as I could read, and tested that truck thing, but did not yet automate the ship unloading. I don't know why exactly.
Yeah, it seems like you got these big, colorful boxes that, I mean, they're all standard size. Like, it seem like, I mean, I'm sure it's not an easy problem by any means, but it seems like that's where there's like much less variance versus trying to drive on a road. I mean, surely there's less variance, right? The crane's on a friggin' rail. And literally every box is shaped the exact same. I don't know. Yeah. Probably better off with us developing games and not trying to unload containers. Cool. All right, guys. Yeah, I think we'll call it a day. I want to write some code. Yeah, thank you. Thank everybody for joining us. Hope you guys are still enjoying the game, enjoying the progress. Sorry if we bored you today at all. That wasn't our intent. Actually, I think we had some pretty good discussions. I'm kind of jazzed to get into some remote gate stuff, some scheduling stuff too. Cool. All right, everybody. Thank you very much. Yeah. Until next time, probably about a month from now. And every day in the interim, on the forums, on Reddit, all that. As always, if you haven't yet, consider leaving a review. Really high impact way to support us. Yeah, beyond that, enjoy the game. Send me this save too, please.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. Cool, guys. Everybody take it easy. Thank you very much for joining us. Really do appreciate it. Hope everybody has a very good day, night, evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you.
Bye.